What is that? So that's some of the questions that I hear at the Back Porch Antiques, and I thought, you know, it'd be pretty cool or pretty interesting to highlight a video of some of our odd and antique items that are here at the Back Porch Antiques. So that's what we're going to do today, is show you some odd stuff that you might not necessarily see somewhere else, or you might learn a little bit about, because that's really what it's all about, learning about history and the things that make it up. So here, this, believe it or not, is a local piece of history. In downtown Greenville there, well, I guess it wasn't technically downtown Greenville, on the Snaps Ferry Road, BJ and Nancy Broyles owned a Western store. The name of that Western store has left me. Maybe some of you can drop that in the comments and remind me. But anyway, this particular carved Indian sat in that Western store. I think the store probably went out in the early to mid-90s, if I'm guessing. But this is a pretty cool piece because it's obviously all hewn out of one particular log. And it is very well done. Now, there's some discussion on whether that is a young Indian maiden or a brave. We're not exactly sure, and I don't want to be disrespectful by any means, but he or she has some feminine features, yet some good masculine shoulders. So the question of what is that, all I can tell you is that it is a carved Native American statue. It's very cool. So some other odd things that you might not know about. You might if you're in the antique business, but if you're not, you might not know what this is. What is that, EJ? You might say. This is a belt measuring device, automotive belt. If you need to replace a belt, you need to know what size it is. So you'd loop it around there, loop it around the bottom, and stretch it out. And the numbers on the particular piece would tell you what size belt you needed to replace. Now, what you would do if you broke a belt, I guess just put it back together and see the best you can. Another pretty cool piece, interesting. What do you got here? How good are you? These are actually pretty collectible in their time. These are egg scales. That's right, it is an egg scale. And apparently there was a competition at some point in our nation's history about how much your egg weighs. Now that one is plastic, so it doesn't weigh much, but if it, oh, knocked that over. If it were a heavy-duty egg, then it would weigh more. So I guess if you've got a goose egg or a turkey egg or something, it would show much heavier than that. So, an egg scale here at the Back Porch Antiques. Interesting pottery. A face jug. Now, a lot of people come in and say, why would anybody in their right mind want to collect what's called a face jug? And these are in pottery, and they are highly collectible. Oftentimes they're not extremely old, although there are old examples. But this one is engraved 1993. I believe one of the more famous potters of face jugs was the Meters people, Meters being last name, and that is a southern pottery, but face jugs. So what is that? Those are face jugs. So back in our primitive booth, you will find some things that are quite interesting. I've highlighted some of those in videos before, so go back and check out our videos on primitive furniture. But this is a pretty cool piece. I've had a lot of people ask about this. What is this? Is this some sort of torture device or some sort of maybe pleasure device? I don't know. But I've had a lot of questions about it, but it's actually just a pot scrubber. Pot scrubber, you say, well, yes, when this was made, all the pots and pans, or most of them, were either enamel or cast iron. And these chainmail scrubbers were used to get the leftover stuff off of cast iron. As a matter of fact, you can buy them new today. However, this is an antique version of the same piece. Here's another cool piece hanging on the wall. Handmade wood duck box. Antique wood duck box. That's a big thing in East Tennessee, where people would make boxes to house wood ducks so that population could be continued here locally. And somebody was doing it way before it was cool. This particular piece is attributed to Moore County, North Carolina. So here are a couple pieces in booth 27 at the Back Porch Antiques that look pretty wild looking. Some of you may know what these are, but this particular piece is a cobbler's tool, a cobbler being an individual who made shoes, and this is something that he would use to have stretched the leather. A very cool looking tool and very unusual, something that not everybody might grasp. This, if you are a sportsman, you might be understanding of this. This is an antique clay pigeon thrower. So if you are a trap or skeet thrower, this is something that would have been used to throw those trap and skeet probably circa 1920s or earlier. Very cool pieces. In booth TTA, he has a display of jewelry here at the Back Porch Antiques, and I want to pay close attention to this little bitty sterling bracelet right here. It has an image of an eagle on it and some turquoise inside the breast of the eagle. It is my understanding that is a special ceremonial piece that was given to children who were very young, probably 1 year old or younger, designating them of a medicinal family. You've heard of a Native American medicine man or something along those lines. That particular bracelet would have been given to a medicine child, somebody who would fall back into the lineage of a medicine man as they grow up. Very cool piece here at the Back Porch. So what is this? This is a nutmeg grater. You can put your non-grated pieces of nutmeg in this particular grinder or grater, and it will bring out spices for your pies or whatever. When I think about nutmeg, I think about pumpkin pie, and that will soon be approaching us. I love me some pumpkin pie. What is that? That is a candle mold. Yes, believe it or not, candles were molded at one particular time. These are highly sought after. Actually, a lot of people decorate with them, but wax would have been poured down into the molds. It would have hardened and they would have been pulled out by the ropes on top. So that is a candle mold. This is an interesting piece. It's found in booth MAST, and it's Mark Anderson's booth. But it's pretty cool because it's a Civil War piece, and it is an example of quackery, if you will. It's an example of early medicinal practices. It's called a bleeder. Some people, there's another term I think people use, but this is a bleeder. They would have actually been used, these blades would have been used to cut people open if they were sick. There was a tradition that doctors of the time thought that if you were ill, that the bad blood can be poured out of you, and good blood would replace it. I'm no doctor, but I'm betting that practice probably killed a lot of people. So here in the tool booth, there's several pretty cool things that might catch your attention of what is that or what in the world is going on there. But this particular here is a barrel bung, B-U-N-G, and this is actually sort of a primitive tap that would have been used for a barrel of wine or a barrel of, well, really anything. And a small hole would have been perforated in the side of the barrel. This would have been placed on it, and then a mallet. As a matter of fact, I had a bung mallet at one time, but I think I sold it. Would have been used to drive this into the barrel without losing much of whatever liquid was in it. And this was used as the tap, would have flown down through that, and would have worked out pretty cool. So that is a barrel bung. What is this particular contraption? Well, it's a coffee grinder. A lot of people will think of an oak or wooden square top box as a coffee grinder. This is a more industrial type coffee grinder. Obviously you'd put your beans, still has a little bit of coffee smell to it, in the top, and the grounds would have come out here. Finally, this is another example of a coffee grinder. As opposed to the metal coffee grinder, this is what would have been the more traditional type. What's cool about this one, if you look, actually has coffee grounds in it. It's been used, obviously, has that wonderful smell to it. Put the beans in the top and turn that little grinder there, and it will make your coffee for you. But anyway, I hope that's been a little bit educational. That's what we're about. We like to learn about things here at the Back Porch. So hopefully you've learned a little bit of something. If you've got something to add, feel free to drop it in the comments. Check out our other videos, like and subscribe if you haven't already, and we would sure appreciate it. We'll catch you on the next video.